All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here, talking about real music and doing it in real time for a few real people out there, just like you and me. Sad news from the music world, folks. I had said prior to Heart announcing their tour that this tour was going to be a rough tour for them. And the tour has been canceled, and it's because Ann Wilson was diagnosed with cancer. She says here, this is merely a pause. Now, initially, if you go back and read some of the articles, it said that Anne was having a routine medical procedure at one point. And so I don't know if this is a routine medical procedure, but it sounds like they removed some cancer and she's going to have some preventative chemotherapy treatment. The musician, who is 74 years old, announced on Tuesday that she recently underwent surgery for cancer and as a result will take the rest of the year off. Um, this is her exact statement. Dear friends, I recently underwent an operation to remove something that, as it turns out, was cancerous, she wrote on Instagram. The operation was successful and I'm feeling great, but my doctors are now advising me to undergo a course of preventative chemotherapy, and I've decided to do it. Wilson said that due to her treatment, her doctors had advised her to take the rest of the year away from the stage in order to fully recover, and that she would therefore be postponing Heart's Royal Flush Tour, which was set to begin in Cleveland on July 30th and run through December. I remember looking at those dates and saying, that's a lot of gigs for a band that hasn't played together since what, 2019? So it's been 5 years. Uh, to ticket buyers, I really do wish we could do these gigs. Please know that I absolutely plan to be back on the stage in 2025, she wrote. My team is getting those details sorted and we'll let you know the plan as soon as we can. Now, little footnote here. It seems, now it could be me, right? It could be, and someone would have to kind of think about this themselves, but it does seem like there is a lot of cancer and a lot of heart disease out there. And I don't know why there's so much of these things. I guess there's always been a lot of cancer and heart disease, but it seems like there's more than there ever has been. Now, I don't have the stats on that, and we can't be certain what might be causing the increase, but um, again, there's a variable, there's a factor, and I've talked about that variable and that thing on this particular program. And once I go here, it's just wild speculation, right? And I have no business talking about this because people can just say, there's no correlation. You're just, you're grasping at straws and you just don't know what you're talking about. So all of that is probably true, but it does seem like there is a lot of cancer and a lot of heart disease. And there's a lot of very aggressive cancer on top of it. So it's good that they found this and it's good that they removed it. It doesn't sound great that she needs to have chemotherapy after the operation as a preventative treatment. Chemo is not fun, especially for somebody who's 74 years old. This is just not going to be good for her. So she goes on, though. She's an optimist and she's just looking straight forward. She says, this is merely a pause. I've much more to sing, she wrote. Love, Ann Wilson. Respectfully, this is the last public statement I'd like to make on this matter. In a statement shared to Heart's official Instagram page, the band added, more information to be announced in the coming weeks. This announcement comes weeks after Wilson and her sister Nancy, who is 70 years old, announced the cancellation of a string of June and July concerts in Europe due to health concerns. So the health concerns obviously turned out to be cancer. The Rockers said at the time that Wilson had to undergo a time sensitive but routine medical procedure. I don't know if it's routine, but it is a medical procedure. So, anyway, folks, certainly from my vantage point, although I've been a little bit critical of Ann Wilson over the last few years since the Who Let the Dogs Out incident, which you'll have to go back and research that, up until even fairly recently, where it just seems as though the band wasted a lot of time figuring out if they wanted to be this classic rock band with this amazing catalog and just go out on the road and play it for people. I think that was the simple thing to do. I think it's a little late in the game to try to reinvent a band that people really loved during the 70s and 80s. I was always a fan of going back to the 70s and unplugging as much as possible. I know, I probably have more 80s Heart fans on this channel, but you could even unplug some of the stuff from the 80s and strip it down. And Anne could just chill. She could sit on the stool. Nancy could play guitar, maybe have a couple of backing musicians to help things along, and just do a raw, sort of bare bones version of this great band. So much music, and, honor the songwriters that helped the band as well. Don't shy away from those songs that were written by other people. Maybe the only song I would shy away from is I Don't Want to Make Love to You, or whatever it is. All I Want to Do is Make Love to You, which is a song that is just very cringy. It was cringy back then, but it's just gotten so cringy. And it's very anti-Anne, right? That's not who she is. She's a Me Too kind of gal. So anyway, we wish for Anne to have a speedy and full recovery. We'd love to see them out there in 2025, maybe recalibrate this a little bit, do some laid back, shorter performances where people can just hear this music as it was written, as it was intended, guitar, piano, stuff like that. And I think fans would love it. Just again, unfortunately, though, we do have to really face the reality that this could be it too. I mean, by next year, people might just decide, okay, pushing this is really a bad idea. A lot of bands do this where they postpone and then eventually they just have to say, okay, we're done. They want to keep hope alive for the fans, but in this case, this might be over. And it would be okay if it was over, because we care more about the health and well-being of these people than them pushing themselves to be out on stage, when really, like I've said over and over, a lot of these bands should really just retire. All right. And I say that as a huge fan of classic rock. I'd love to see these bands continue, but in many cases, these bands just can't do what they used to do. And they're kind of pretending that they can do it. And the fans are they're pretending along with them to some degree. Yeah, they sounded great. And they'll send me a link to the video that they probably recorded. And I'm just like, great compared to, it's rough when you grew up listening to this music and you got to see all of these bands at their peak back in the 70s, 80s, whatever. And now you're listening and you're like, wow. And, when somebody hits a note, you're just like, yes, like you're rooting for your team. But people will make the argument, I'll just go back and listen to the original album, and that will be enough for me. And I think a lot of us are going to cope that way moving forward. It's just a reality. Unless, again, you reassemble a band that can replicate the sound of the original band in a way that transcends the fact that there aren't any original members in the band. And even doing that, you alienate all the people that just want to see their musical heroes one more time. So I get that. I don't think we ever thought of this when we were younger. Like, Wonder what these bands are going to be like in the year 2024. We probably thought to ourselves, yeah, these bands won't be around in 2024. If they get to the year 2000, that will be a miracle. You know, those numbers were just so big in those days. Like 2010, you know, didn't Back to the Future go to like 2015? And now 2015 is like 9 years ago. So anyway, thanks for watching. God bless everyone, including the Hart sisters. This has got to be rough on Nancy as well, and all the fans who are looking forward to seeing Hart, which again, one way or another, if it's next year and they do it, that's probably going to be the last tour for Hart if they can pull it off.